When Homeless Outreach within your community, specifically Meals on Wheels, says that they have to close their doors down, when they have to close a location, that's when you know that you've reached a new all-time low. Can't keep our staff safe. Meals on Wheels closes downtown Portland site due to safety and funding concerns. Let's get into it. Here we go.
New at 11, we're hearing from neighbors and workers after the announcement that 2 Meals on Wheels people facilities are closing their doors. That includes one in downtown Portland. The CEO saying safety and money are reasons for the closures. Let's get right to our Ariel Yakabazi joining us live tonight in downtown Portland. So that's where one of the closures is happening. And Ariel, how is all of this impacting people who rely on Meals on Wheels people?
Well, Liz, it's important to note that Meals on Wheels people will continue serving anyone who needs their services. But the people that we spoke to who do utilize those services say they're sad about these closures.
Just doing what old folks do.
Sean Meese lives in the Southwest 11th and Main area of downtown Portland. And in his 5 years here,
Yes.
he's seen changes that make him feel unsafe.
If you're out here by yourself, don't come out at night. Because it's within a 2-mile radius of where we're sitting. It's not a fun place by yourself.
Safety concerns like Sean's are exactly why the Meals on Wheels people location below his apartment is now an empty space. This location and another in Hillsboro are now closed.
We've lost some volunteers who don't want to drive to a different site to pick up the meals and then return downtown to deliver.
Each week, the organization delivers meals to more than 25,000 people who are 60 and older.
Wow.
In Washington and Multnomah counties here in Oregon, along with Clark County in Washington state. CEO Suzanne Washington tells us the downtown Portland closure is a long time coming, citing a rise in drug addiction and violence, especially since the COVID-19 pandemic. It's why they closed their in-person dining as well.
I can't keep our staff safe and our volunteers safe because there's always something happening. We've been threatened by knives and fires being set.
She also says a lack of funding played a part in the decision to close these locations.
It was time to close. We had to cut funds out of our budget this year because of basically federal cuts.
Washington wants to assure people like Sean who use their services that they'll still get them. But Sean says he and others will miss the social connections they made over a cup of coffee and a hot meal.
When you don't have that, places like this serve great outlets for that. That's one of the main reasons why I miss it a lot.
The 2 locations that the Meals on Wheels people organization is closing, that's the one here in downtown and the one in Hillsboro, that won't affect their service at all. People who use those services and get those meals delivered to them will still be able to take advantage of that, and they'll continue to do that as long as they can. Reporting live in downtown Portland tonight, Ariel Yakabazi, KOIN 6 News.
I think I might have incorrectly said earlier that it was the homeless that they're servicing. It's not. It's basically the elderly, the shut-in elderly that can't necessarily get out and get their food. So it doesn't, it's not like they're closing down, but the specific locations, they can't get their volunteers to service it. And it's just frightening. You got people chasing others around with knives. I mean, it's the standard Portland stuff that we cover here on News for Reasonable People time and time and time again, because it is policy that has allowed Portland to become kind of this dumpster fire of homeless folks on drugs. Remember, for that split second, Portland just decided, we're going to decriminalize all drugs and we'll see how this goes. And then drug crimes just spiked through the roof. I mean, this is not, shenanigans just exploded. And the social experiment, happened for a split second. Right? Just a split. Oh, and then folks realized, well, maybe that wasn't a good idea. Maybe we need to reel that back in. And we're going to go back and we're not going to approve of the, all drugs are okay, because clearly that isn't working. So as Portland continues to bring people back downtown, Meals on Wheels people say that they've had enough. And so when a service like this says no can do, that's when you kind of go, all right, let's check out super quick before we continue with this article. Let's take a look at where this is located. So yeah, here we go. All right. So here's the three parks that had the rioting. Here's the stores, in this area had the looting. You had all kinds of, shenanigans going on. You had mass scale shenanigans. These are kind of the three parks that are in front of the federal building and the Justice building. Here's Meals on Wheels. Literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 blocks away. Less than half a mile away, 6 blocks. Just walk that way for a handful of minutes and you'll be there. So this is in the absolute heart of the downtown chaos, where you've got people walking around that are just whacked out of their mind, screaming at the trees, screaming at the clouds. And, stories like the dude running around with a knife who the police chief said, well, let's not get folks riled up in downtown. We'll just let that guy be, and we'll de-escalate the situation, and we'll come back a couple of days later and we'll arrest him. You're left with what about the people in downtown Portland that are just trying to make a go of it, and they just want to eat their lunch? They just want to, the volunteers want to get their pick up food from the downtown location and deliver it elsewhere. And then you've literally got people saying, nope, I'm out. I'm no can do. It's been a long time coming, said the CEO. Site stopped offering congregate dining after the COVID-19 pandemic shut down in-person dining options because you had so many people whacked out of their mind on drugs, living on the streets, screaming at the clouds, and to offer them an in-dining experience, they're just, it's a no go. It's a hard no go because you got just a bunch of Looney Tunes running around, right? People doing shenanigans. So that, no in-dining, experience here, but hey, we'll take the food out to you. Even after restaurants were able to reopen their seating areas, the Elm Court location never resumed in-person dining. And these street conditions are exactly what is impacting commercial real estate in Portland, commercial real estate in Seattle, commercial real estate in LA, commercial real estate in San Francisco. San Francisco doing slightly better because of AI, and their mayor has done a pretty good job at hammering down on some of the criminal elements that San Francisco has allowed in the past. And he's kind of ratcheting down on some of that. So San Francisco, to me, on a better trajectory, certainly a better trajectory than Portland at the moment. Let's just say that. Let's be fair there, right? Instead, the location served as a delivery hub instead of being reopened back up for in-dining, a delivery hub for volunteers to pick up and deliver meals to in-home bound recipients. But even that has been problematic, the CEO said. I can't keep our staff, and we heard this, I can't keep our staff safe and our volunteers safe because there's always something happening. We've been threatened with knives and fires have been set. It was time to close. Street conditions. You've allowed years and years and years of liberal progressive policy to absolutely decimate the street conditions. I was there during the pandemic. I was there and watched as those parks just absolutely, the statues just got absolutely destroyed here. You had, Antifa trying to light up the federal buildings. The Justice System, the building next door, that's where, Trump is sending in secret police and they're scooping up people off the sidewalks when that wasn't happening. They were arresting people that were, committing crimes against the federal building. Not that hard to figure out, folks, but this is Portland. Every day they're stepping over feces and there's needles and drug dealing and deaths, she said. This is the CEO of Meals on Wheels. Once there was even a body that staffers had to step over to get into the building, she said. Could you imagine? Okay, I'm here. I'm a volunteer. I need to get 15 feet inside that doorway and get my stuff, get my pickup. like Uber Eats. Get my bag. But they take a bunch more. Meals on Wheels takes a bunch and then goes out and on delivery runs and delivers it to people who can't get out. Invaluable service. But could you imagine you're volunteering and you got to step over a body to get into the building? That is what is absolutely wrong with all of this. You are allowing people with extreme mental conditions and obviously extreme drug addiction issues, and oftentimes both, to just live wherever because, hey man, what could go wrong? What's going wrong is that your Meals on Wheels is closing because they have to step over bodies to get their orders to deliver them on a volunteer basis. Make that make sense. It doesn't. Closed. Actions have consequences, right? Actions have consequences. All right. So you need to get this a little bit better for you there. It's been so bad that they've struggled to keep volunteers. Every day we read about that. Once there was a body, Meals on Wheels had been at the Elm Court location since the early 2000s, but it wasn't always such a tough neighborhood, Washington said. Trouble started with COVID and the rise in fentanyl use. You hear that over and over and over again. COVID and the rise in fentanyl use. And what you had was kind of a double whammy. CDC said, don't move the homeless encampments. So they got kind of used to being in one spot and they just absolutely proliferated. All right. We know that we're not going to get swept. Hey, let's do a tent. Let's do 2-3 tents. Let's do 5 tents in this general area. And they just took over. And then the drugs started really pouring in. Southern border just became super porous. And fentanyl just kind of just came in, right? And then you got all these folks doing the fentanyl and you've got all the criminal activity associated with that because fentanyl is so strong. It's so addictive that people have to have it and they'll do whatever it takes to make that happen, including stealing from the community, purchasing stolen goods, selling stolen goods, you name it, just that whole street level conditions thing that everybody understands. All right, not conducive to businesses operating, Meals on Wheels not being an exception because of all the shenanigans going on, right? You just got crazy stuff happening and normal people who volunteer, they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to deal with that. And the mayor knows it, and the mayor's trying to do what he can. But again, got to remember, this is the end result of years and years and years and years of liberal progressive policy. This is what you get. Your Meals on Wheels literally shuts locations down. Now, some of that has to do with funding, of course. But if that were truly the issue, that's what they would focus on. But instead, it's, there's the safety. I mean, we did have that whole dead body thing, going on. Difficult getting over the dead body. I don't know if you've ever been around a dead body in person, out in the field, out in public. No. Avoid that at all costs. You know what I mean? Just, no. Don't want to be around that. Just, hard pass. She said that things have gotten better, but downtown still hasn't recovered, and it was time to try something new. That's your indicator. We gotta close up shop here. We're gonna still do something, but we're gonna take from these other locations where we don't have these street level influences. We're gonna deliver from there. And that's what they're doing. Washington said they considered finding a new location, but due to funding uncertainty, made more sense to spend the money elsewhere. Instead of paying for someplace else, we want to keep people fed, she said. All right, so they got to adjust their business model to something that makes sense. Imagine paying for rent in a place where you got to step over a dead body in your entryway. I thought the guy, the homeless dude that had crapped his pants on the corner right here in Portland the night after I was there with my son, Brennan, I thought that was a difficult thing to step over at the entrance of the 7-Eleven, which is now closed. I thought that was problematic for me to be walking around. That guy was still alive. He was just whacked out of his gourd on who knows what. And, and so I stepped over him, and my son Brennan was behind me. He was like, not conducive to shopping at 7-Eleven, right? Not conducive to having volunteers who take food to people. I mean, invaluable service. So when Meals for Wheels takes a step back and pauses and goes like that, they are some of the least likely people to pull the plug on, what amount to terrible, terrible street conditions and some funding issues. All right. I mean, so again, what I liken this to is if you've got big corporate, if you've got a Kroger, if you've got a Nordstrom, if you've got a CVS, if you've got a Target drugstore, Target store, if you are lining up all of your statistics on which of your businesses, which of your locations are doing well, and you have to figure in insurance, if you have to figure in safety issues, if you have to figure in stepping over dead bodies to get into work, I mean, that is the epitome of, you look at that list and go, oh, yeah, dead body on that location, boom, gone, right? Because that's something that people don't want to deal with. So if you got to close something anyway, and you've got a location, even if most recently it's gotten a little bit better, it's gotten a scooch better, it's based off a historical fact. Hey, how have things been in that location since 2020? Well, we had this go wrong. We had a fire set. We had, dead body, got lunatics running around, literally lunatics whacked out of their mind. Just doing their shenanigans, whatever those might be. So this is not a stretch of the imaginations having Meals on Wheels closing. But to me, it was one of those stories. Well, nobody else is probably going to cover this because at the end of the day, unfortunately, it's a bunch of elderly folks that are impacted, and people don't really care about the elderly. They say they do, but actions speak otherwise, right? Really? I mean, it's terrible what happens, I think, when you get older, is people just kind of forget about you. And Meals on Wheels is such an important component of the elderly community in so many cities. And so to have this shut down is just kind of an indicator. It's one more business that can't make it. Granted, it's a non-profit business and they are not forced to, turn a profit, but that is what makes this story all the more like, oh, that's not good. And to hear the stories come right out and say, well, we can't even keep our volunteers here because they don't want to come back to the downtown location to turn their stuff in, whatever it is, that kind of whole thing. Do they go out with a truck? I think they might go out with a truck because they've got warming equipment. I think that's how it goes. Not really sure. I need to pay more attention to Meals on Wheels. But yeah, Meals on Wheels in downtown Portland and Hillsboro, a no-go. And it's not a shocker. It is not a shocker. It's a continuation of something that we've known to be true for a very, 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 very long time. And this is what happens. And that's what we cover on News for Reasonable People. So make sure you hit that subscription button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. We release 2 Monday through Friday, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting. And I'll catch up with you in the next episode. Bye for now.